Howdy everyone, we're back with some RPG horror stories today, and let's just jump right into it today. So our first story is from user Water, and is titled Player Upset That My Character Gets to Shine. And it goes as such. After 5 years of playing D&D with the same people, I finally decided to join another group, and it wasn't a good experience. We have a bunch of other players who are not important, DM, me, and the exploiter, who we will call Troy. Troy isn't a min-maxer per se in the common sense that they would go around Reddit and find some busted build. Exploiter loves to find some obscure rule wording and throw a gotcha at the DM. Is that saying what they'd like to do? I don't know, we'll continue. Troy enjoys breaking encounters and brags about how he'd soloed the encounter. Okay. Oh boy, this is one of those types. So I'm not saying this is a horrible way to play D&D, but if the rest of the table is not prepared for this type of play, it can cause a lot of friction, because you end up with somebody who's trying to spotlight and break everything when it comes to combat. Let's continue though. Because of this, DM often gets caught off guard and loses concentration. Encounters break and all. He gets fed up, but instead of, talking to Troy, he decides to run a hard encounter. Players started dropping in capped. I also went down, but an NPC we adopted used the potion in my inventory to bring me back up. DM realizes his mistake, so he decides to pull his punches by allowing some players to get away with things. Like he let me gain the benefit of full cover by stacking two bodies on top of each other and going prone to avoid getting targeted by a spell that requires line of sight. Okay, so I'm glad the DM is in this situation trying to modify the encounters on the fly. This is a skill you have to learn as a DM. It can be very difficult to learn, but once you do, and when it's applied properly, it can make for more fun and dynamic fights. I also enjoy the use of Rule of Cool here by allowing the player to stack bodies to gain full cover against something that needs line of sight to hit. Let's continue though. Troy was having fun too. He is thrilled that his party is dropping one after another while his PC is still in the fight. It's all fine until Troy goes down. Troy's sulking now. My character is the last one conscious. I use all of my character's resources, and with some decent rolls, I mop up all the bad guys. I felt great. The other players were cheering on. The DM did well enough to salvage an encounter that was designed in bad faith, so good on him. You know who's not happy? Troy. Troy sulks like a lot, then goes, "That was a terrible encounter." I was thinking, well, yeah, that's valid. That encounter was heavily skewed into killing us, with two players immediately out of the action before round 2. But that wasn't Troy's issue. He said something along the lines of, "Did we really win the encounter? There were some BS rulings." DM asked, "What parts exactly?" Troy went on about me, how I'm able to take full cover. He said that was BS and that the enemy should see me a little bit for line of sight to connect. The DM informs Troy that he understands why it can be iffy, but he will stick by the ruling and move on for now. Troy wasn't having it. He said the party should be dead now because there is no way that spellcaster wouldn't have seen me. He also pointed out that the DM is giving me favoritism, such as using the NPC to bring me back. Fun fact, the NPC was just hiding until another player asked if the NPC helps now that I went down, since my PC is very close with them. The DM, just wanting to move on, apologizes for the imbalanced encounter and promises to have a discussion about it after the session, since we're almost done anyway. Troy relents, sulks around, leaves the table without saying anything to pop up later, and just generally being disruptive. Like, I know I made Troy look bad here, but I kind of get it. I too would be upset if the DM designs an encounter to kill us, not out of raising the stakes or challenge, but they're out for me. If I did something wrong, I'd prefer if the DM come talk to me than punish me in the game. I'd understand. Except Troy's a 40-year-old man, and the DM is his son. Okay. Well, that was a twist I was not expecting. 40-year-old man-child, that is the father of the DM. Didn't see that. Troy, here, he needs to grow up. In TTRPGs, you, as a player, will not always, quote, win. There will be times other players are, and I'm going to use a quote here, winning, where the rolls are going better, they have the spotlight, etc. And in these situations, you should be happy they're doing well and having some time to shine. TTRPGs are not a competition to be the main character, which Troy clearly wants to be in combat here. If your DM makes a ruling that benefits another player and you're not being unfairly targeted due to that ruling, or you're not gaining the same benefits the ruling such as that, you should be happy. Rule of Cool overrules is interpreted raw any day. This situation here is an unfortunately messy one. The DM should put Troy in their place, but it's definitely not going to be easy given that Troy is their dad. I'd personally say that Troy isn't a good fit for this table, but it's unlikely that the DM will just kick Troy. I'd recommend the DM talk with their dad about the behavior and about how the way they're playing is causing their life as a DM to be much harder. If Troy doesn't suck, he'll take the criticism to heart and fix his ways. But Troy's likely a man-child, so I don't think anything good will come of this. It's an unfortunately weird situation, and I don't have better advice. It's a very sticky one. Let's continue on, though. Our next story is from user OilNew2414, titled Transphobic Player Casts Resurrection on Me. Trigger warning. Transphobia, talk of genitalia. Goes as such. So this happened over the weekend. I joined a group my friend was DMing. It was a high-level campaign as they were prepping to go fight the god of the hells in his homebrew setting. Their last player had personal matters that made them drop out of the campaign, so DM invited me to take their place. Joining deep into a high-level campaign can't be easy, so props on OP for being willing to do that. You know, you've got already pre-set up storylines, there's relationships between everybody over a long, probably hard-fought campaign. It can't be easy being a new player jumping into that, especially at high level. Let's continue. Here's some important information. I'm a trans woman and often play as trans or cis women characters. The party was all level 14 at this point, and the party is as follows: a dwarf fighter, an elf wizard, a draw cleric who is the problem player, and me, a trans Mark of Handling human ranger. I believe Mark of Handling is something from the Eberron book, like the Eberron setting book, though I don't think it's like a subclass. I think it's something closer to like variant human and how it affects your character. So I'd be curious what their actual subclass is. Let's continue on, though. Problems immediately started as when I joined the call. The cleric immediately said, "There he is, finally," despite me having she/they on my username. The DM corrected cleric, and he apologized, so I let it slide. Maybe it was just a slip, right? As the adventure continued, cleric kept avoiding interacting with me and kept interrupting during my turns to suggest better ways of using my abilities. He would casually drop slurs for disabled people, specifically calling me the R slur. I'm used to people like that, though, so I just told him to stop, and he toned it down. Misgendering once is fine. You know, once or twice, it happens. You apologize, you move on. But this cleric's clearly an asshole. I'm wondering if they are normally this way, like kind of like an edgy piece of shit, or were they acting like this because they were maybe told ahead of time that, hey, like, this new player joining the table's trans, like, let's be polite to them, something like that. I'm kind of leaning towards more of the cleric just being an edgy little shit, but let's find out. Eventually, we came upon one of the demon god's generals and got into combat. Near the end, my character failed all 3 death saving throws, thanks Nat 1. The rest of the party barely scraped by, and the cleric healed everyone up. Then, they used a 7th level spell slot to cast Resurrection on my character. I thanked him, but he ignored me and said to the DM, "I look up his skirt. Did his dick grow back?" Resurrection makes missing body parts come back. Jesus. Everyone was silent, and I left the call. DM reached out to apologize on cleric's behalf, but I haven't responded to any messages from the group. I might just stop being DM's friend because he's clearly comfortable hanging around transphobes and creeps. All right, holy shit here. Okay, DM needs to have a conversation with cleric if they have not already. You cannot treat anyone at the table in this way. Not only is cleric being an asshole because he's clearly misgendering somebody, but he's violating another character in a very fucked up way. If you do not have ruling and set rules ahead of time to be able to be like, I stare at this character's genitalia, don't do it. It's so fucked up. If I was the DM, this cleric would be gone unless they basically begged to not be tossed and they were willing to apologize OP and right the way they were acting. TTRPGs require you to respect not only the DM, but also your fellow players, and you need to at the very least just be cordial. If you won't show that basic level of respect, you should not be at the table. So, that was the end of that post, but we're not done with this story just yet. A few days ago, OilNew2414 made a follow-up post, and this is how that post went. Hey all, I'm back with the update to my previous post from a few days ago. I ended up talking with DM again yesterday, and he told me that he had never known cleric to be that horrible. He apologized for not doing anything in the moment. He was just too stunned and told me he banned cleric right after I left. He acknowledged my feelings and understood that my trust in him had somewhat diminished, but he promised to work hard to earn that trust back, and I'm giving him a second chance. I will not be playing with that group still because I'd rather play D&D with people I trust. Okay. I am glad that DM figured out their shit here and apologized. It can be very difficult when you're the DM or somebody in a leadership position and you're thrust into a situation like this where just somebody's being an asshole suddenly, and it's very shocking. Good on OP for giving DM a second chance here, and I don't blame them for not wanting to go back to that table. Sometimes that happens. Let's wrap this story up, though. As for Cleric, I know he sent DM a heated message using many more slurs, which GM said hadn't really been an issue before. Maybe Cleric would slip up here and there, but it was never as bad as when I was at the table. Cleric berated DM, calling them a T-slur, loving F-slur, and much more. Gross things. Okay, those are both actually kind of bad. So I wonder how bad it got there. As well as telling DM that he hopes that my eventual surgeries get botched. Ooh, Cleric. No. All in all, I'm kind of glad that I went to that table because the rest of the party and DM would still be playing with a truly awful person in their midst. It really sucks that the Cleric is acting this way. I'm hoping that the other players at this table spoke up to the DM or went out and reached out to the Cleric and told him to check themselves. But I also understand how people can kind of freeze up and not want to act, kind of like bystander syndrome during situations like this. Personally, I hope Cleric does some reflection and grows as a person after this, because if I got thrown out of a table for my behavior, it would certainly cause me to want to reflect on how the hell I got there. But sometimes people kind of double down on their shittiness. Good on OP for not letting a bad player / table ruin TTRPGs for them, because I can understand why being in a absolutely shit situation would cause someone to not want to play. Has this ever happened to you? Ugh, it's nighttime during the week and I'm so bored. I wish there was someone I could watch on Twitch. Oh, what good news, totally real person. Are you bored at night during the week? Do you want to talk TTRPGs and watch video games? Well, there's a solution. Davey streams on Twitch during the week from 7 to 10 p.m. Central Time. So come on down if you want to talk TTRPGs, video games, or want to watch me play games such as Coming in Kingdoms, Deliverance 2, or Marvel Rivals. I couldn't think up a fancy name for it, but you should come watch. Wow, thanks Davey, my boredom is cured. You're welcome, totally real person, and you too can benefit from this by watching me on Twitch. I stream normally 7 to 10 p.m. Central during the week, and I hope to see you there. Okay, our last story here is by Appropriate I1183, titled My DM Just Told Me to Create a New Character. No, she hasn't died yet. For context, I'm a relatively new player into the D&D scene, but hyperfixation has gotten me pretty deep into the ins and outs of the game. Also, I often play at the game shop in my city. Seems like mostly one-shots. But recently the opportunity to play an actual campaign appeared, so I jumped right in. We were mostly strangers with each other, except for one guy whose achievement was being the Nick Fury of these Avengers, and as we passed each other's vibe check in session 0, we went ahead and had our first session a few weeks ago. The conflict arose when recently our DM sent to our group chat that as we crossed the portal, last moment from our previous session, my character did not appear with the rest of the group, and then told me to bring a new character. At first I thought, oh, well, that's fun. The wild beyond Witchlight is full of surprises. And so did my group. They were already crafting theories of all sorts. But as I sent a message to my DM, this apparently was not a temporary character thing. That's a bit weird. The DM didn't let OP know that the swap wasn't temporary or that this was going to happen. You know, if you're going to pull somebody out, like a player, I would highly recommend letting them know, like, hey, your character just happened to be picked to disappear here. Like, this is a temporary thing. Your character's not dead. Like, give them some sort of, like, guarantee. Give them comfort. You know, if you're going to do something like this weird kind of gotcha thing, if, like, you're going to do fuckery with portals. Let's continue, though. Turns out I got hit by a truck / roll that was never actually disclosed during our session 0. A few days ago, I brought my character into one of those one-shot games I frequent to. The majority of the players in the DM are part of that community, and that day my DM was at another table as a player. To quote him so I can't twist the truth, Yes, I'm being serious. I know how excited you are to play with character name. We are all excited to play, so I don't think it's fair that everyone else has to wait to play with their characters. I know she's your character and you can do whatever you want with her, but since you decided to take her somewhere else, you won't be able to continue the journey. All right, that's a bit of a weird one. I can see the DM being sad to see OP's PC from their campaign showing up in another one-shot, because perhaps they wanted to see that character kind of grow organically within the confines of that story/campaign they're running. But as long as OP doesn't assume that things that happen in this one-shot, items, experience, whatever, carry over to this campaign they're in, I personally think it's okay. It's a little weird, but it's okay. Personally, I would never take a planned PC for an upcoming campaign to a one-shot. But I personally think one-shots are places to kind of try new character ideas or start a PC that could maybe grow into something for a campaign. But that being said, I will not yuck someone's yum. DM should have approached OP about this and not just remove their character. And what I am kind of thinking is a bit of a fit of jealousy here. To be honest, I play with that character at the game shop because I know that as a new player, I'm terrible at roleplay and I wanted to practice. Now, I don't even feel like going to our session tomorrow. I feel deeply disrespected as a player. And what's the point if I can't get to play the character I dedicated so much time into fabricating? Maybe it's just me overthinking and me being alone with my thought, but did my character just die in the least honorable way possible? No combat, just by the will of the DM and outside the table? A part of me wishes that this is a, quote, part of the campaign thing. If someone has had experience with Wilds Beyond Witchlight, please let me know. I assume that Wild Beyond the Witchlight does not do this. Usually the written modules don't do stuff like this. I don't want to sit and play at a table where the DM teases that my character might return one day. I find hope to be a fragile and hurtful feeling. Okay. My recommendation here is that OP should probably talk with their DM about the potential of their PC returning and how that makes them feel and why they had that same PC in another one-shot. There is a chance this is just some very big misunderstanding here, and if the DM sees how much the OP cares about this PC returning the campaign, they may alter things to try to get them back. But I can also understand OPs want to not continue playing, as getting blindsided like this really sucks. Let's continue this story though. Also, the way my DM sent this message to the group chat, it ultimately resembles putting a gun to my head to make me say yes. And I hate it. But from a DM's perspective, was what I did also wrong? And I don't know, felt like cheating. Edit, thank you for all your comments. Now I get this wasn't really me overthinking. This wasn't a me overthinking problem. I will drop the table where my group, I still need time to think how to handle this. For those asking between the two characters, no, I don't move levels or items from one to the other. They both have independent character sheets. My DM knows that because he plays in that collective as well. Edit 2, sorry to disappoint many of you. I don't like confrontation, so I just said I won't be playing at this table anymore in the group chat and peaced out. Not sure what happened later, but what conversations derived. There might have been an explosion, but I don't care to look because cool people don't look at explosions. The only person I did talk to was my friend, the Nick Fury, and explained to him my frustrations, the drama, but I don't think this needs to escalate further. Perhaps the DM's problem was with me, and once I'm gone, things can have a calmer course, or be a complete shithole, which I would definitely be more glad to see. Oh, I would hope it's not. I mean, sometimes it just doesn't work out. Their game is tomorrow, so maybe my friend will tell me what happened after. In the meantime, I think I've set my mind into becoming a DM. I'll start with one-shots at the game shop. Hopefully, I get to become the harbor I once sought. Also, damn, I am in love with the Charles Darls, Errol's, Farrells, Marls, and George lore here. George is a weird name. Great NPC inspiration. And that's the story there. Okay, so I'm glad OP is moving beyond this. These things happen, and sometimes it is better to drop a bad table than to kind of continue through one. I would hope that maybe these players have a conversation with the DM after this player randomly dropped, because it does seem like this DM blindsided, and if I was a player, I would be a little concerned if randomly the DM was just like blindsiding people for what seemed like no reason. But I also understand not wanting to cause drama. So I'm glad they're moving on. Hopefully they enjoy DMing. DMing is definitely an experience. It is definitely way more in depth than being a player. So hopefully they learn to enjoy that. I think their ability to hyperfixate will probably help in that situation. So that is going to be it for today. Thank you guys all for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more. Don't forget to also comment down below on what your thoughts are on either of these 3 stories. I love getting to read your guys' comments, and I do my best to interact and respond to all of them. Don't also forget to catch me on Twitch, and I will see you guys all later. Have a wonderful one, everybody.